the core here helps you to become a much more diversified individual. It gives you a greater skill set, a greater knowledge skill set. It helps you to learn how to properly think and to integrate things. But it's also that it helps you to see the world in a much different way than if you went to a secular institution where it's more of just kind of funneling you through to specialization.
Because we often tend to think about college as you go to college to get skills, to then get a job.
I mean, I think in some ways the part about liberal arts education is that it's liberal insofar as it's freeing. So the idea of the liberal arts is they're not servile arts. They're meant to free us.
Something that forms the individual, that forms people to think.
Companies can always train you to work, but they can't teach you to think. So the beauty of a liberal arts education at AMU University is that the core curriculum gives you this breadth of learning and kind of a deep engagement with the best that's been thought in the West and in the Catholic tradition. But it also prepares you through the major to take up more specific disciplinary studies and professional preparation.
Two reasons for why literary tradition as a core class is important. All academic endeavors are a reflection, an analysis, and an attempt to make sense of experience. Literature gives you a wide range of experiences that you never would have had before, that you enter into. The literature is all about how we make sense of the world. There's science in literature. And unless you understand the human context of science, science will be an abstract endeavor that will have no connection.
Students tell me all the time, I never liked history until I took Western civilization. I think what they mean by that is high school history is about facts and dates and one damn thing after another. And history here, at least the way I teach it, is about the human experience. And I'm not as concerned with dates. Obviously, that's part of the narrative. But I want to know what it is to be a human and how we interact with our world. And that's what history shows. It's a relation of cause and effect.
Language is, as we all know, a vehicle of thought, right? So when you learn another language, there are many cognitive processes going on in your brain. It helps you think in a different way. It helps you learn other subjects, and I think that's very important. If you are studying philosophy and you have to read a book that has not been translated, and this happens all the time.
In science, there's great order and reason from the smallest thing to the highest thing. So there's such a great hierarchical organization, and so order is not random. If it was, then nothing would make sense. And so there's a proper ordering of everything. Everything has a particular end towards which it works. And so because of that, any way that you work through science, it should bring you to an understanding that God does exist. And because everything in life has meaning, and if God doesn't exist, then there's no objective truth. And without objective truth, nothing has meaning.
I guess for one thing, inspiration. You can draw inspiration for your life from, many of the characters of the Old Testament. Some people can really identify with, the suffering of Old Testament saints and things that they have experienced personally in their lives and things.
I think success in a lot of fields is highly correlated with mathematical ability. I mean, the ability to solve math problems is breaking them down into parts and then figuring out how to put it back together to get a solution. This is the foundation for learning other things, is the ability to recognize when you actually know something and discriminate that from when what you have is not really knowledge but someone's opinion. And there are other things mathematics does for you. One of the reasons the Greeks, or Plato in particular, wanted it was because it teaches you there are objects that exist that are not material.
Everyone except for the liberal arts majors is going to have to take some other course after math, right? Perhaps it's statistics for the psychology majors. Perhaps it's chemistry or physics for the science majors. And all of those courses will require you to understand enough of the basic mathematics to survive the course so that you can actually apply it to the things you love. Another important reason for taking math is that mathematics prepares you for attacking all sorts of problems, even ones that aren't solved for X. You are confronted in life with all sorts of situations where you need to make decisions and you need to look carefully at, well, we can follow strategy A, we can follow strategy B. Those strategies will have consequences. You want to be able to figure out what those consequences are going to lead to so that you can make the better choice, right?
I do tell freshmen first year is the hardest year. Everything's ratcheted up a notch in terms of expectations academically. You know, when you're in high school, the competition's not as stiff as when you're in college. So everything goes up and it all hits at once.
High school is very easy compared to college, and from what I've heard from students and my own experience. So whatever you did in high school, you have to do, plus more reading and more discussion.
Yeah, so in the core, you have to take 2 sciences, and each science must have a lab. So you have to have a full year of science with labs. And so taking those courses, a lot of it is coming to learn a new terminology and being able to apply it. But you have to be prepared to study the material, and even if it's something that you don't like, it doesn't matter. You have to do it, because there's going to be things in life that you don't want to do, but you got to get it done.
The math core consists of one of 4 classes. Finite math, which is a good course if you are a liberal arts major and don't have any courses that you'll need to take later, like statistics or chemistry or physics. Next comes college algebra, which is good preparation for statistics, as well as functions, which will help you prepare for some of the chemistry courses, and then calculus, which is usually required for many of the physics courses. So those are your 4 choices.
Students are going to be asked to make arguments. Now, it's accessible because it's a story. One may think Homer is a different world. Homer is a human being writing about human beings in a particular situation. And while they might not have, no one, I suspect, has been involved in a war and combat, they understand fear, they understand courage, they understand envy, they understand jealousy, they can connect with this, but they will be asked not to write about their opinion, but give an argument about the story and things that happen in the story.
In high school, is that you think of history as simply memorizing names and dates, you just kind of get through it and you move on.
In college, it is much more of a dynamic process. So of course, the baseline is textbook reading and primary documents reading. I emphasize a lot more the discussion and the critical and analytical skills that are required for any liberal arts discipline, especially history.
Yeah, I would encourage all students to realize that it's an ongoing process to become a better student. And so when you make mistakes, you just have to begin again. Right? I think most of the students sitting in the orientation today have very good ideals for wanting to begin again and be a better student here at the university than they were in high school. And so what we want to do is help you make those ideals real.